There is a sound in cinema history that you never forget. It isn't an explosion, and it isn't a line of dialogue. It is a scream. A sound so inhuman and sudden that in 1978 it caused entire audiences to drop their popcorn in unison. But did you know that the terror you see in the leading actress's eyes in that final moment wasn't acting? It was genuine fear. Welcome back to Golden Flicker. Today we are tuning into a frequency of pure paranoia. We are talking about Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 classic. For many of you who saw this in theaters, this was the movie that made you stop trusting your neighbors and perhaps even your houseplants. Philip Kaufman's film is not just a remake. It is often cited as one of the rare instances where the new version rivals or even surpasses the original. It captured the specific social anxiety of the late 70s, a distrust of institutions, and the fear of losing oneself in the crowd. But why revisit this nightmare today? Because history is repeating itself. With the release of Vince Gilligan's new series, Pluribus, the concept of the hive-mind is trending once again. But to understand the future of sci-fi, we must unearth its roots. We have cracked open the production files to bring you the 13 definitive secrets of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. From the terrifying practical effects to the psychological torture inflicted on the cast, this is everything you need to know. Don't fall asleep. Here we go. Number 13. The Origin of Pluribus. We begin our countdown at number 13, bridging the gap between 1978 and 2025. If you are currently watching Pluribus, you might have noticed an unsettling familiarity. That is by design. Creator Vince Gilligan has publicly confirmed that Invasion of the Body Snatchers was a primary inspiration for his new show. But he wasn't just interested in monsters. He was interested in the hive mind, the seductive idea of losing your individuality to become part of a collective. The 1978 film moved away from the Cold War fear of the 50s and focused on the horror of conformity in modern city life. That same DNA is woven directly into the fabric of Pluribus. Number 12, the desperate torch passing. At number 12, we have one of the greatest uncredited horror sequels in history. Early in the film, a man runs frantically through the streets of San Francisco, banging on car windows and screaming, "They're here already! You're next!" That man is Kevin McCarthy, the very same actor who played Dr. Miles Bennell, the hero of the original 1956 film. This cameo isn't just a nod to the fans. It implies that he is the same character, still running 20 years later, trying to warn a world that refuses to listen. In the 50s, he survived. In the cynical 70s, he is struck by a car and killed. The message was clear. The old heroes can't save us anymore. Number 11. The Blind Taxi Driver. Moving to number 11, if the actors looked genuinely terrified during the taxi escape scene, it's because they probably were. The taxi driver is played by Don Siegel, the director of the original 1956 film, another brilliant cameo. However, there was a catch. Don Siegel had very poor eyesight at the time. Legend has it that he drove that taxi through the dark streets of San Francisco without his glasses. The anxiety you see on the actors' faces in the back seat is that look of people being driven through the night by a man who can barely see the road. Number 10. The Omen on the Swing. At number 10, a moment you might have missed if you blinked. In the opening sequences, keep an eye on the playground. You will see a priest sitting on a swing, staring into nothingness. That is the legendary Robert Duvall. He appears uncredited and reportedly did the cameo for free, simply to be part of the production. There is no dialogue, no explanation. He is just a silent, eerie omen of the invasion. A spiritual authority figure reduced to a childlike state. It is these subtle, unexplained details that build the film's subconscious dread. Number 9. The Battle for the Curls. Number 9 brings us to a lighter note. Donald Sutherland's hair. You can't think of this movie without thinking of that perm. And yes, it was a choice. Sutherland insisted that his character, Health Inspector Matthew Bennell, should have curly hair to give him a distinct, somewhat quirky look. Reportedly, he started by wearing pink curlers in his hair every morning in the makeup trailer. Eventually, to save time, he just committed to a permanent. It adds a layer of vanity and humanity to the character, making him feel like a real, eccentric person rather than a generic action hero. Number 8. The VW Beetle Accident. At number 8, we see that safety regulations in the 70s were suggestions. During one of the many frantic running scenes, Donald Sutherland was accidentally struck by a Volkswagen Beetle. This wasn't a stunt. He was actually hit. But in a moment of adrenaline or pure professionalism, he bounced off the hood and kept moving, completely uninjured. He later recalled seeing the look of absolute horror on the driver's face through the windshield. The cameras kept rolling, capturing the chaotic energy that you simply cannot fake on a green screen. Let's take a quick breather before we enter the truly terrifying half of our list. If you are enjoying this deep dive into the archives, please take a second to click like and subscribe to Golden Flicker. It helps us keep the lights on and the projectors running. And we want to know, which classic film should we decode next? The Thing? Alien? Or something more obscure? Let us know in the comments below. Okay, back to the horror. Number 7. Psychological warfare. We are back at number 7. Director Philip Kaufman didn't just want his actors to act paranoid. He wanted them to be paranoid. To achieve this, Kaufman discouraged traditional rehearsals. Instead, he encouraged the cast to fill the gaps between dialogue with authentic, awkward silences and stares. He wanted the characters to constantly be scanning each other for signs of change. This direction created a palpable tension on set. The actors were often unsure if a scene had ended or if their co-star was improvising, leading to that documentary-style anxiety that permeates every frame. Number 6. The $12 Invasion. Number 6 proves you don't need millions of dollars to destroy the world. The film's opening sequence, depicting the alien spores leaving their dying world and drifting to Earth, is mesmerizing. And it was incredibly cheap. The effects team created this cosmic journey using bucket of goo science. They dropped viscous liquids into water tanks and filmed the dispersion, then reversed the footage to make the spores look like they were moving with purpose. The total cost for the materials? Legend says it was about $12. It remains one of the most effective sci-fi openings of all time. Number 5. The Visceral Births. Entering the top 5, things get messy. The pod births are the centerpiece of the film's horror. To achieve this, the effects team, including a young Rob Bottin, created full-body molds of the lead actors. These weren't just mannequins, they were highly detailed duplicates that could be pressurized to break out of the fibrous pods. The actors had to endure the casting process to create their own sleeping doubles. The result is a scene that feels biological and wet, far more disturbing than any digital effect could hope to be. And now, the golden flicker moment. Number 4, the Dog Man. At number 4, we have the image that fueled a generation of nightmares. The Dog Man. A dog with a human face. But here is the golden flicker moment, the detail that makes it truly work. This wasn't an animatronic. It was a real dog wearing a custom mask. If you look closely, you will notice something deeply unsettling. The dog licks its human nose. The makeup artist deliberately cut a hole in the mask to allow the dog to lick itself. That single, wet, involuntary movement bridged the gap between the mask and the animal, tricking our brains into believing this abomination was alive. Do you agree that this is the most disturbing practical effect of the 70s? Number 3. The sound of the womb. At number 3, we look at what you hear. The sound design was handled by Ben Burtt, the genius behind the sounds of Star Wars. For the scenes where the pods are growing and duplicating the sleeping humans, Burtt needed a sound that represented life, but in a parasitic way. He used a recording of an ultrasound of his own pregnant wife's heartbeat. He slowed it down and distorted it to create the organic rhythmic thumping of the alien gestation. You are literally hearing the sound of human life twisted into something alien. Number 2. The Scream Recipe. Number 2 is the sound of the end, the pod scream, that shrill, soulless shriek that the aliens use to identify humans. Ben Burtt knew a human voice couldn't reach that level of uncanny horror, so he went to the barnyard. The core of that sound is a recording of pig squeals layered with other mechanical and organic noises. It hits a primal nerve in the human brain, sounding like an animal in distress, but devoid of any human emotion. And finally, at number 1, the final betrayal. The ending that no one saw coming. Not even the cast. The final shot of the film is iconic. Matthew Bennell points his finger and screams, revealing he has been turned. Nancy, played by Veronica Cartwright, reacts with pure, unadulterated horror. That reaction is real. Director Philip Kaufman and Donald Sutherland conspired to keep the ending a secret. Veronica Cartwright did not know Sutherland was going to scream. She was expecting a different cue. When he opened his mouth and that pig squeal sound erupted, the shock you see on her face is genuine. She wasn't just acting afraid for her character, she was physically startled by her co-star. It was a cruel trick, but it gave us one of the most powerful endings in cinema history. Invasion of the Body Snatchers taught us that the scariest invasion isn't one with laser beams, but one where we slowly lose our humanity while we sleep. If this deep dive kept you awake, please support the channel by hitting like and subscribe. We have plenty more secrets from the archives to reveal. Until next time, keep your eyes open and maybe check on your neighbors.